Okay, alright. We're doing this again. We're doing Vin today. If you're just gonna have to excuse the microphone at this point. I've tried fiddling around with it. I can talk all the way back here, and it still is in the yellow a little bit. So, oops. R.I.P. So, yes. Singularity samples. I'm gonna try to be more concise. Alright. So Vin is a vampire. He's not your average vampire. No garlic, no stakes in the heart, although that would hurt. Vampires are a direct creation from the primordial of death, also known as the Watcher, as we've discussed in Lena's sample, I guess. And they do rely on blood to survive, but it's not the blood that they need, it's the magic in the blood, the mana. Because how mana works is that you have a core, which is like kind of your soul, but your soul feeds mana through your blood so you can use it, and that is concentrated in the heart, obviously. And so the heart pushes out mana, like circulates it through your body, and this is how people can use mana. When they refer to a mana pool, they refer to how much your soul can take. But when they refer to your mana capacity, it's how much magic you can produce, like how much mana you can use, actually. I may have gotten this wrong in my first episode, and if so, I apologize. But mana pool, your vocabulary words for today, mana pool is your soul's ability to hold mana. That is how much mana you can hold. Your mana capacity is how much mana you can use, like through your body. Also, important lesson, you have to have a focus to use magic. It needs to be an item, a specific body part, a specific movement, or a specific word or sound. And it has to be for every particular spell. Most people use an item because it's so much easier, but you can also use words and body movements. And if you're very skilled, and only very skilled, can you successfully use like a finger or your whole arm or something without hurting yourself. Because if you use mana without good control, it will backfire on you. And like, let's say, an easy example, you're trying to cast a fireball. D&D fans, I got you. So you're casting fireball, and you're trying to use your hand to do it. No other focus, just your hand. And you can also mix and match focuses too if you have trouble controlling stuff. But let's say you're just using your hand. You cast fireball. You have no control. It catches your hand on fire. That's how it works. And if you were trying to make a wind blade, well, guess what? You just cut your hand off. Sorry. Sucks for you, I guess. But that is generally how, more or less, magic works. Also, vampires, when they drink blood, they also tap into your soul because they're like feeding off of your mana, and your mana is stored in your soul. So they can, in essence, control you and like invade their mana into yours and basically set a curse on you, which they like It's colloquially called a slave contract. And here's why. If you allow yourself to get bitten by a vampire, they can put a curse on you that makes it so that if you ever try to betray them, like hurt them, basically, the mana will collide with theirs, and because no one in Lena's world, at least, can match up to the mana of a double fang vampire, like a pure-blood vampire, they will die of mana poisoning. Mana poisoning is when you either have too much mana in your blood that's been circling around for too long, or you don't have enough mana in your blood and your body stops functioning. Too much mana for mana sickness results in, at first, a high fever. Then if you continue to have too much mana, you'll start vomiting and have like really severe sickness symptoms, headaches, whatnot. And then the last stage, you start bleeding internally, and then you die. Too little mana, you get really lightheaded and basically feel anemic. And your blood will thin also. And you pretty much die within a few minutes if you reach this stage, because mana building up is a process. Mana going out is so fast. It's just gone once it's gone. So, sorry if I keep getting close to the microphone. I don't need to do that. Sorry for like getting loud and quiet again. But that's your lesson on mana and magic. So vampires ruled over the land. They were tyrants. And so everyone hated them, like all the other races mostly hated them. But some vampires started having children with other races, which started inheriting their mana pools, and then they were born half-breeds, which is what they're called derogatorily, or single fangs. They have one set of canines. Purebred vampires are called double fangs because they have two voice crack, two sets of fangs. So a double fang vampire is individually stronger than a single fang vampire, but single fangs are able to be born at a higher rate than double fangs. Double fangs do not have a high fertility. And also they live for so long, like they can live forever unless someone chops off their head or like they get mana sickness and die. They live for so long that they don't feel the need to have that many children. But when they mix with other races, those children have children, and then their children have children, and the next thing you know, there's vampire blood everywhere. So they got taken down, the double vampires got taken down in a coup, because now the regular races, the non-in-control races, had the power to. So yeah, also double fangs are still hated in society. They are constantly attacked, basically, whenever they're found out. Like, people will band up against them to kill them. Single fangs are not looked at the same way. They are not even considered vampires, really. They're cool, you know? They're chill. They took down the double fangs, they're cool. But the only difference between a labeled single fang and just someone with canines is a big mana pool and mana capacity, as well as a known vampire lineage. That's it. No one can really tell otherwise. However, double fangs, obviously besides their two sets of fangs, They all have green eyes with slit pupils. Let's see. What's next in Late Nights with Myra with I Promise No Alcohol, I Wish? So, Vin's parents were double fangs. So, he is also a double fang. His parents got found out by the city that they lived in, and they were killed in an attack. Like, they got attacked in the middle of the night, unawares, and killed. Vin was tortured and got his hands cut off, but Lena happened to come by and rescued him. Now, Lena doesn't like double fangs either. She really hates double fangs, actually, because if you recall from the last episode, she was captured by a tyrant double fang, and basically she was a blood bank and a pet to him, like, and also she got hit with like the slave contract. So, you know, not good memories. But basically, the reason that Lena decided to adopt Vin was that she needed a test subject to figure out the key to an immortal body, and here was one at her doorstep. A little demigod, perfectly, like, a little tiny little child that she could manipulate into the perfect test subject. And Vin obviously needed somewhere to go, so although he was like terrified, he had to go with her. So Lena now has a test subject, and Vin now has a home. But Lena did not treat him very well at first. She didn't even see him as a kid, she just saw him as a monster she was taming. But after a while, after treating Vin so poorly and seeing how Vin was like reacting like a scared child, you know, eventually she was like, oh fuck, this is a child. And so she's still a little on the fence, but now they get along a little bit better. She treats him with more respect and decorum, and Vin is still kind of upset because he really wishes that she would introduce him as her son rather than her bodyguard or her friend or her co-worker. Speaking of which, they have a very co-worker relationship and or like a roommate relationship. They don't really scream familial when you just look at them from the outside. Vin really wishes that Lena would open up to him, but Lena's a very secretive person. She's used to trusting no one. She's used to getting backstabbed all the time, so that's kind of been a dead end for a while for Vin. So Vin, as a character, he's a pretty decent guy. Like, Lena is kind of unhinged sometimes, but Vin is always there to be like, hey, maybe we should dial down the like theft and murder and literal like war crimes that we do sometimes. Just a suggestion. He also cleans up all of her messes because Lena's a very messy and disorganized person. She looks put together, but she is not. And Vin only looks put together because Lena forces him to look good. She's very into aesthetics. If it was up to Vin, he'd be out here in a hoodie and sweatpants. But in any case, Vin is very responsible. He's fairly empathetic. He has his blind spots thanks to the way he was raised, and also the trauma of everyone hating him to his core. Without even, like, he hides what he is, obviously. He wears a mask out in public and he wears eye contacts because all double fangs have green eyes, so he wears contacts so that he has red eyes. So that was Lena because she likes aesthetics again. And since Lena has blue eyes and wears blue clothes, of course Vin had to have red eyes with red clothes because opposites, duh. But yeah, that's kind of their dynamic. They poke and jab at each other all the time, like antagonizing each other for fun. That's kind of what they do. So Lena still kind of sees him as a monster sometimes, and she is really struggling with her trauma in relation to Vin. So they still have a lot of that going on. But yeah, they work together really well in their job, which is they work as freelance or like by commission bodyguards or assassins. And Lena will take on pretty much any job that's worth the trouble and gold. So that's kind of how they operate. And she'll also go after any artifacts with like magical capabilities on them, because Lena's always on the lookout for gadgets that'll help her do better. So yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to say about Vin and vampires. I think. Please, dear Lord, let this be the last recording. I'm so, like, tired. Yeah, a lot of things happened. This was late nights with Myra. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. I hope you're interested in my story, Singularity. I hope you scream at me to make it a reality someday. I don't know if I'll listen to you, but I'll be flattered. So, yeah, sorry this was like a totally, like, 180 from the last video. I think I got more information in this one than in my script, though. So I might try this again, especially if people like it better. Yeah, I think that's everything. If it's not, I'll add it in post. Make sure you eat, drink, and take your meds, and I will see you next time.